Australia. My first live stream of the day, 1 of 2. I'm also going to be uploading my breakdown, analysis, and prediction of Tszyu versus Seb Fundora 2 last night. Before I went to bed, I uploaded my breakdown, prediction, and analysis of Usyk versus Dubois 2. And the day before, which is also under our fight prediction playlist, you could see my analysis, breakdown, and prediction of the main event tonight in Sydney, Australia, between Paul Gallen and Sonny Bill Williams. To any of my Sydney Aussie subscribers, if you guys are going to that fight, let me know. I will be at that fight as well. Australian sporting legend Anthony Mundine, Chalk, the man, whatever you call him, his son is making his pro debut. It's why I'm going to the fights. I first started interviewing Mundine in 2015. His father, Tony Mundine, was an Aussie legend. They still are very much interconnected with boxing, and I always like supporting the Mundines. So I'm excited actually about the card just to see what Chalk's son looks like in his debut, and it should be entertaining, the main event. My only hesitation is that it starts at 10 p.m., the main event, and for instance, I went to bed last night at 8:30. I'm an old head. I'm usually in bed between 8 and 9 o'clock. So I guess I'll be staying up a little bit later. Also, guys, the channel, I've answered some of the questions regarding how to join Johnny Says Boxing Insider Group. If you see on this chat, some of the boys have the blue star. They've already subscribed. It's a couple bucks a month. That link is pinned in the comments section below. Also, over the last 2 weeks, I've probably gotten 10 emails from you guys, 10 different requests that I wasn't even thinking about creating content in such a way until you guys were asking for it. So also, I added another level of the VIP Insider Group, if you want. This is for the people who specifically asked me to do breakdowns, predictions of specific fights and specific fighters. So if this is something you're interested in, click the link as well. You'll see the different options. In that membership, I'll do a specific video for you. I'll put your name in the title line, and there's other perks to that. Once you sign up, I will email you with all that. Some of you guys wanted to do your own introduction, sort of like, hey, what's up, guys? This is so-and-so. Welcome to Johnny Says. This is the breakdown of my favorite fighter, etc., etc. So that is now an option on the channel. Currently, we have 2 options of joining Johnny Says Boxing Insider, and then that level 2 is the specific personalized videos for you guys in which I edit them, I shoot them, I produce them, and I put them on the channel. All right, moving forward, guys, we have a lot to talk about. As everybody's checking in, hopefully everybody is enjoying your Tuesday night. If you're in America, 55% of you guys who watch my stuff is from America, and then throughout the world, Aussies. I see Kane is checking in. Kane's an Aussie. He said he's going to the fights as well. If you had a look at the Kane Baker, I'm not getting any odds on that Kane. And I'm not big on Johan either. No offense to Johan, guys. Johan is one of these guys who was an Olympian, I think, 15 years ago? And then Johan Lind. He might have taken maybe a decade off of boxing. I think he's maybe at my age. I'm 43. Johan's probably 43. And I've seen him fight a couple times live. He's a big boy. He's Kane. He's really stiff. You know that. You're a boxer. You can tell, I'm not trying to put words in his mouth. I really don't know what he did in his time off. But in terms of how a fighter operates throughout the ring, especially an older fighter, you could kind of see either what they've been up to in their conditioning, or maybe it's just naturally. And, when he doesn't have good punch resistance either. When he gets touched, he kind of freezes up a bit. So if he's the favorite, why not sprinkle something on the underdog? I'm not getting that bet on my book, though. But I didn't even know Johan Lind was fighting. Yeah. Yeah, and Kane, if you can find footage of him when he was an amateur, younger Johan Lind, he looked totally different. Sanctions stopping me from supporting my boy. Damn, Tipkin. Oh, yeah, Russian, my man from Russia. Every time people meet me or see my last name is Stofko. My dad was from Czechoslovakia, so his family grew up in Prague, Czechoslovakia, former Czechoslovakia. But I guess it's a lot of people mistaking the last name for Russian or Ukrainian, and that KO. Funny enough that I was kind of ordained into boxing as a young boy, and my last name ends in KO. I think it was written in the stars. But Tipkin, man, just you tuning in is support enough. You subscribing to the channel is support enough. I appreciate the thought and the intention. So yeah, whatever you guys could do to support the channel, everything counts. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate all the support. So yeah, we got a lot to talk about. I am uploading Tszyu versus Fundora today, guys. I rewatched Tszyu versus Fundora 1 again last night. I've watched that fight multiple times. And you know what? I'm kind of flip-flopping a bit. There's a lot to talk about with Tszyu, I feel. I shared a photo yesterday in our group of Tszyu with his shirt off, getting ready for fight week. And mate, you'll never see Tszyu with an 8-pack. That was kind of one of my things. And I know his S&C coach, David Barker. He does a lot of really good work. David Barker, I think he's from the Shire. I think he's from the Cronulla area. But, you know, because my wheelhouse is strength and conditioning too. So we've been following each other online for a few years. Watching Tszyu's physique, watching the training, like Tszyu's in good hands with his S&C team. Barker's high level. You know, he definitely knows what he's doing from a programming standpoint. And maybe it's a different nutritionist. Who knows? I'm not sure if David handles Tim's nutrition. But one of the things I always look for in younger fighters, and I'm talking Tszyu, what is he, 30 now? For him to be 5'9", fighting at 154 and never having a 6-pack, and this isn't supposed to sound condescending. I'm not trying to pass judgment, but I'm 43 and I have a 6-pack. And I know the effort, that is only a reflection of lifestyle choices is my point. You know, I choose to live a really healthy lifestyle. I choose not to do substances at this stage of the game, probably for the last 13 years. I've always been an athlete, but for the last 13 years, my whole 30s and going to my 40s, it was a conscious decision to really wake up each morning and feel good about myself naturally. So that being said, when I would see Tim, you know, at the weigh-ins, I'm like, he's only 5'9", 154. I'm 5'11". I walk around at about 180. Why doesn't he have a 6-pack cutting down to 54? It never made sense to me. And then seeing him in this fight camp, he's ripped, mate, like in a good way. He doesn't look drawn out. You can check the photo. It just looks like he's probably tightened things up in his lifestyle. I don't know him personally. So that being said, here's something nobody wants to talk about either. The Bakram Murtazaev fight, yeah, it's not a bodybuilding show. Of course it's not a bodybuilding show, but there's one thing when you look at fighters who well, you could definitely judge a fighter's body composition 100%, especially in the lighter weight classes, by how they live a lifestyle. That's 100%, and that's coming from the coach side of me. So there's no reason a 5'9" kid fighting at 154 you shouldn't see his abs. So I don't want to hear that. That's an excuse. So definitely not a bodybuilding show. But my point is, when you watch Tszyu versus Murtazaev, we know how brutal he got stopped, right? He got hit early on with those straight shots, no head movement. Survived that first round, and then was it the second round he got stopped? Here's my point: it wasn't like an Errol Spence Jr. stoppage against Bud Crawford. It wasn't like this 9-round belt to ass beatdown like Bud put on EJ. We know the damage that EJ took. Even if EJ never got in that car crash, even if Errol Spence was, you know, this sort of like 100% primed Errol Spence against Bud, I still wouldn't be shocked to see him take the 2 years off. You know, we haven't seen him fight since 2023. He's been really active lately on his Instagram, motivational quotes, training, has a 6-pack again. So my point is, even if Errol didn't come in to the Bud fight with his history of drinking, with his history of the car crash, as his coach, if I, you know, hypothetically, I would have probably told Errol to take a year or so off. So Tim didn't have that shellacking against Murtazaev. In our memory, it was a brutal stoppage, but it wasn't like this. It wasn't like he took over 100 shots or he was a punching bag. He got stunned early, never recovered from that early combo, and then got stopped in the next round. My point is, when you rewatch that fight and then you rewatch the Seb Fundora fight, the cut happened at the end of the second round. And all things considered, after the fight, after it went the distance, once they dried the blood off, you know, and they bandaged it up here and they washed the blood away, it wasn't like Timmy was swollen here. It wasn't like his nose was broken. It wasn't like his mouth was broken. None of that. It was just the cut, obviously, with the bloodbath. Fundora is the one who had a broken nose. Fundora had I think it was at least a 6-month suspension from the commission. because he had a fractured bone here. All that considered, and then I don't know, man. Watching Tim's training, watching the last couple weeks of him hitting the bag, I wouldn't be underestimating Tszyu here. I initially impulsively was thinking that Seb should get it done. But now I'm thinking, mate, dude, I think we would be ill-advised. Tim's in his prime. He's 30 years old. You're telling me this guy, he's coming off the Spencer win, but in his head, he's still thinking about Murtazaev and Fundora. He's still thinking about his doubters. I expect to see an ultra version of Tim Tszyu. I expect to see a motivated Tim Tszyu. And I would be really cautious in betting against him, I think. Specifically what he looks like. I mean, I was watching him hit the pads. I was, we know he's brought in a couple tall, lanky sparring partners. And once again, he did get stopped against Murtazaev, but it's not the narrative or the rhetoric like a complete and utter shellacking for 10 rounds, like a Francisco Rodriguez putting, that steroid belt to ass to Galal Yafai. That is a beatdown. Or like I said, Arrow getting beat up by Bud. That's a beatdown. I think it was kind of lucky and fortunate for Tszyu to get stopped early, unless he learned head movement overnight. But I mean, Tito, it wasn't like that style wasn't working against Seb. You know what I mean? So it's like, how much better, what it's going to come down to is what levels did each guy add to their game. What guy, in your opinion, has already peaked? What guy, in your opinion, are they going to look exactly the same, guys? Because if they look exactly the same, I think it's a coin flip. Well, Lubin, what's up, Nazo? I think Lubin is fighting Murtazaev. I didn't share it yet, but I got an email that contracts have been sent out, and I think we should expect in at least 48 hours. I think that Murtazaev Lubin fight might get made official. We know Fundora, though. What's up, PJ? We know Fundora has a tendency to not fight on the outside. I mean, it's obviously logic. His height, his reach, fight on the outside, use the jab, punch down. Might stay away from Fundora. All things said, it's hard to bet on. Yeah. Kane, I agree. It was early, but in that time he still had a job in hers. I agree. Will, I agree. But you know how tough fighters are. My point is, if you're looking at any stoppage and you're being an optimist about it, even if you're the fighter, if you're the camp, if you're the fan, if you're the analyst, when you're looking at any stoppage and you want to be an optimist about it, you'd rather have your guy get stopped early, actually, rather than this, delaying the inevitable beatdown with no path to victory, and then he finally gets stopped in the 10th. What's up, Muscle Brown in the house? Make that money. How confident on Paul Gallen upset? I don't think it would be. I know on the odds it's going to be an upset, but I think Paul Gallen should be the favorite. I talked about it in my breakdown. I think Gallen is the underdog on the money line due to the popularity of Sonny Bill. I mean, I did my best to acknowledge the fact in my breakdown of the fight how, famous Sonny Bill in his prime was in rugby. Playing, when I moved here in 2013, I think he was playing for the Roosters, an NRL team, which is, they call it league. And then he went to Union, which is a different style. And he played, with the New Zealand team, the captain. And we know that Gallen was, I think he was a lifelong Cronulla Shark fan. I'm not quite sure, though. From 2013, I don't know if he played for any other teams before that, up the Sharkies. I think Gallen is going to put his head on his chest. We know what Gallen does. Gallen, like I said, he's mixed it up with, Australia's first ever world champion, Big Daddy Lucas Brown, even though Lucas got stripped. And it wasn't like Lucas was exactly in his prime, but I don't know if Lucas ever really had a prime because he started his boxing career a bit late. Yeah, former league players. Yeah, so my point is, I think the odds have something a little to do with the popularity of Sonny Bill. And a lot of people domestically here, Gallen, unless you're in that ecosystem of being a Sharks fan, a lot of people don't like Gallen. It's just his personality. Yeah, Gallen also beat Lucas Brown. Gallen beat Mark Hunt, one of the biggest punchers in combat sports history. Say what you will, man. Watch Mark Hunt in the Pride days. I think it was the Pride Grand Prix or maybe the K1 Grand Prix when he starched Vanderlei Silva. And Vanderlei, he was a late replacement. it really put him on the map in the combat sports scene. I think it was 2003, 2004. The axe murderer, Vanderlei Silva, was a nightmare to deal with. He was coming from the Pride days. He was coming from those battles with Kazushi Sakuraba, and he was his whole thing in the in the middle of the octagon when they're calling his name, the big tattoo. He was my favorite fighter to watch as a kid, and Mark Hunt starched him. So my point is, a win over Mark Hunt. Mark Hunt had dynamite in his hands. He was kind of like MMA's version of David Tua. What's up, MMA better Nika? Do I think he gets the knockout? That fight's only going 8 rounds, though. It's going to be a Kiwi versus Kiwi affair. Both guys are New Zealand. His opponent, Charlumpus, has a lot of pro fights. I think he's only been stopped once, if ever. He carries a lot of body weight. I think, basically, when I look at Charlumpus with his shirt off, he looks like one of these guys who was probably obese at one time, got into boxing. I don't know. I'm just speculating just what he looks like with his shirt off. Got into boxing probably to lose weight, maybe got the bug and the itch. And when you look at the set, he's kind of loose around the midsection. So I assume he's going to be the bigger dude. Nika is coming off of the stoppage loss against Jai Pataya, but before that, I think he was 9-0 with 9 stoppages. He comes from that camp with Jackson John England. I've had John England on the show a couple different times. He's a world ranked 130-pound guy. He has a win over Jamel Herring. Lost a close decision to Liam Wilson, and he says that Nick is, there's no lasting, lingering effects from that loss to Apataya. But we know boxing, one punch could change everything, let alone a stoppage loss. So I like Nick on the money line. I'm doing a 4-leg parlay. I got the favorites, 3 of the favorites, and the underdog. It pays 5-1. So I'm going to the fights. I'm comfortable with. I think it's $1.17, $1.08, $1.11, and then a $2. I got Gallon at $2.40. What's up, JCG? Guys, if you haven't subscribed or if you haven't linked up on our Johnny Says Boxing Insider, that comment is pinned in this post. And click that link. It's a couple bucks a month. It's another way to support the channel. Are you going to live stream while at the fights? The problem with live streaming at the fights, guys, is the promoters, they'll purposefully play copyrighted music in between the fights to flag you. So I explained this during the Sam Goodman versus Cesar Vaca fight in Sydney maybe a month ago. We were ringside to that. And I don't want to get copyright strikes. So that was a no limit. I think Goodman Vaca might have been no limit. I know this isn't no limit, the promotions. So we'll see. I'm going to play it by ear. I'm going to bring my stuff. And also, guys, I don't want to, I've never been comfortable being one of those guys streaming at a live boxing match. Like, I not only do this, but I love boxing. So it really would, it would probably take away from me watching the fights, but we'll see. I might clip something here and just leave it on. But I don't want to get copywritten because they are strict these days. Even with like walkout music, they're strict. Because I was doing the walkouts. For the Sam Goodman fight in 2 of my shorts that's why I stopped posting shorts, guys. A lot of you, maybe some of you guys on this live stream came to my channel because you saw my shorts being sort of suggested on YouTube. I used to do a lot of shorts, 4 or 5 a day. It was a way to give me like an opportunity to keep everybody up to date on the 24-hour news cycle. And so in 2 days, I got 2 shorts flagged with copyright strikes. And YouTube, for no reason, I have no idea why. I wasn't even sharing proper videos of fights. I was talking like this, and somebody flagged them, and they said if you get one more, this was a while ago, if you get one more, I'd get suspended. I'm like, what? This is so weird. So that's why one of the reasons I pivoted from doing shorts to live streams. Killer body shot on Usyk was mistaken for a low blow. Deja vu will happen again. 777. I've uploaded my prediction on that. I initially was agreeing with you, but I had to come to terms with the greatness of Alexander Usyk. I had to come to terms with that style Alexander Usyk puts on you. Also, the 3-0 in Dubois' last 3 fights, it looks spicy on paper. It looks, 3 stoppages, but who was it against? AJ, Hergovich, Jarrell, or Jared, one of the Millers. And what did Usyk do? Beat Tyson Fury twice. What was Dubois, even if I could see why people could fall in love with Dubois' right hand, his youth, his size, his energy, 6'5", 27 years old, dynamite in his right hand, 95% career knockout to win ratio. But, mate, what Usyk does in that ring, the looks, the feints, the lead hand, he's always given his opponent something to register. And even if you're not throwing punches as an opponent for Usyk, watching him do this all the time and that all the time, it's exhausting. And I just don't know if Dubois, since the first fight, has been able to make any sort of adjustments on being able to match that style. And I like Usyk. I like Usyk. Usyk's a tough out. Usyk is, we're watching, enjoy him while he's here. I think he's 38 now. We're literally watching one of the greats. I'm just picking the money line. I think we're watching one of the greats. I mean, we are in front of us. An unfortunate thing about our sport, fighters are not really adored as much as they should be while they're here. It's always when they leave. And I think that's a testament to humanity. We don't appreciate our people until, unfortunately, they're gone. But Usyk's the real deal, boys. And not to say Dubois, I have a lot of love for Dubois, man. Going into fight week, I was actually leaning on Dubois until I revisited all the fight tape. Usyk, Pitbull, Cruz. Guys, that's one of my locks, baby. Cruz versus Fierro to go the distance. I love Pitbull versus Fierro 2 to go the distance. That's one of my prop bet locks. Also, another one of my prop bet locks is Bam Rodriguez, his fight versus Cafu, over 0.5 knockdown. So on your betting app, this is for all the bettors. If you could get a knockdown prop on Bam versus Cafu over 0.5, get on that. I love that one. And like I said, I love I love Fierro versus Pitbull to go the distance. Sam, I appreciate you. Wherever you boys are tuning in, we're 20 minutes in right now. Let's like this video. Let's hit subscribe. And let's keep it coming. This is one live stream of 2. I'm going to be going live one more time today. I'm also uploading Tszyu versus Fundora, my breakdown, analysis, and prediction. So if you're just watching the live streams and you want to get on the unedited, or you want to get on the edited prediction videos, the stats don't lie videos, those are under the playlist fight predictions. Bam, decision or stoppage. So because the odds on Bam on the money line are so low, and I think Bam, we're looking at an all-time great as well. And I love Bam's body work. I was talking about this with Gary yesterday from 3D. Is the thing about body punchers, real good body punchers, and then guys who just like working the body, and then guys who seek out to damage the body. Bam is that last one. Bam isn't just one of these, fighters who's training to hit the body. He's trying to hurt you to the body. So I could see Cafu's aggression, because Cafu's an exciting fighter, undefeated, has 3 draws on his record. A lot of, early on in his career, he'd have these short round fight, close decisions. He gets on the front foot. He's going to be mixing up with Bam, but Bam does all these little things really well. The things that the announcers or your favorite YouTube content creators might not talk about. His angle changes, his head slips, his body work, how he uses his feet to set up the angles, and he's goddamn aggressive, quick, fast. He is a joy to watch. So rather than just picking will the fight go the distance or Bam by stoppage, I'm going heavy on a method of victory 2-leg parlay. Bam over 0.5 knockdowns. Pitbull, Fierro, the fight will go the distance. I love those two as we speak. And I'm going to be posting my tickets today moving forward. JCG, I'm not betting on Figueroa or Joet. Same, brother. Yeah. And I think Bam by KO is a good, same JCG. I think Bam by stoppage is a good bet, but I don't want to be too quick to rush to judgment to kind of shade Cafu. Cafu could fight. I like the tape I've seen on him. Obviously, this is his chance. It's his big opportunity. He could fight, though. He could bang. I think it's good. And Bam is always in firefights. Bam Rodriguez is never in a boring fight. Guys, go to BoxRec real quick. This card is freaking insane. Not the Bam card, but the Fundora Tszyu card. I'm just going to go over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 12 fights. There's a prospect on the card that I featured on the channel. I've interviewed him since he was 16. The prodigy, Joseph Brown. He's from BC, Vancouver, British Columbia, but he trains out of Team Benavides in the Pacific Northwest, I think Tacoma area. And he's one of these younger fighters. Great amateur career. I think he was 55-0 in kickboxing. He does MMA, but right now he's 5-0 in boxing. He's opening the card. Little Jersley Vargas. I know some of you guys saw him hitting the bag maybe 2 years ago, and it went viral. He kind of looks like Tank Davis. Both of those guys fight out of the money team. So he's on the card. You got Abel Ramos is fighting on the card, which I didn't know. The return of Gary Russell, Mark Magsayo, David Picasso, Figueroa versus Jowett, Pitbull versus Fierro, Barrios versus Pacquiao, Seb versus Tszyu. That card is insane. That card is stacked, dude. There's prospects on that card. There's old heads on that card. There's rematches on that card. There's world champions on that card. 100% kudos to putting this goddamn card together. Tom Brown and Whitfield Hayden. I mean, people love giving props to Turkey and the Ring and those cards they put on, but God, this card is freaking stacked. So Abel Ramos Jesus, didn't know that. So scratch Abel Ramos, he got hurt. And I heard that my boy Arturo Cardenas isn't fighting either. Papago. Bam points, Bam to get dropped and win. Yeah. Bam's going to be there for a slugfest. He could get dropped. He's going to be there too. He's so fun to watch. That's why, fingers crossed, man, in a future world, man, I'd love to see Bam versus Inoue. We got Bam versus Junto. Junto versus Inoue. There are some good matchups to make from 15, 18, and 22. I think we're going to see Junto first before Inoue, and Inoue's already 31, 32. But when you look at Inoue's height and reach, and you look at Bam's height and reach, and you look at their styles, god damn. It's going to be a headache for live betting, though. Will, thinking ahead, my man. You got to prepare for these things. So let's talk a little bit about this lock that I shared. So this is a parlay. My parlay tonight, if you guys are getting action. I'm taking Niika on the money line. I'm taking Clay Waterman on the money line. I'm taking Terjevsky at 157 on the money line. And then Gallon at 240. Yeah, 100 gets you your money back plus $375 tonight on those four. I'm going heavy. I'm probably going to go a little bit more than 100 on that. And then I'm going to plan on rolling those wins into the weekend. There's one fight on Sunday in England there's one fight on the Usyk undercard that I'm going to bet on. I think I'm going to bet on Daniel Lappin to beat Lewis Edmondson on the money line. I like that. I like Lappin. I like what I've seen so far. It should be a good test from Edmondson. I think the odds are a bit right, 127 and 420. I'm not betting on Okoli. I never bet on Lawrence Okoli ever since that fight against CBS. He's fighting Kevin Lerena. You'll recognize that last name. Lerena's mixed it up with some of the best guys in the division. And then I'm taking Usyk on the money line. So here is we're going to go my lock of the week. It's a 4-leg parlay on the money line. This is my money line lock of the week, not my method of victory locks. I've already given you that, but I'm going to print that out for you boys. My 2-leg method of victory lock of the week, knockdown prop bet in the Bam fight, and then Fierro Pitbull to go the distance on the same 2-legger. My money line lock of the week, it's a 4-legger. Yesterday, I booked it in at $1.61. One of the boys who's a heavy bettor, 10 grand is going to get him 6,000 back. So I think there's some value there. If you're only betting $10 bets, it's not one of these bets to go little on. I mean, I have to accommodate the big bettors on the channel, and I like accommodating guys like myself who will sprinkle $100 here and there. And then, I do the long parlays for the boys who, if you want it 60-1 odds, $10 gets you 600. I do those as well. It's just when those don't come through, 60-1, those are the ones you guys burn me for, which is funny. I'll give you an upset of the week. I'm still getting cooked for it. Sharita Metcalf, 6-1, upset of the week, and you guys are cooking me because she lost. I'm like, bro, it's an upset of the week. It's not a lock, bro. Don't get it twisted. All right, here we go. 4-leg that I love on the money line. Usyk at $1.27. Alan Picasso at $1.10. Pacheco at $1.07. Bam at $1.05. Right now, that's paying, with the power play on Sportsbet, that's paying $1. This is the one that some of the, you put 10 grand on that one, that gets you 6,000 back. And I mean, Bam, Diego, Picasso, and Usyk on the money line. Guys, I absolutely love that. I haven't been that excited about a parlay in about a month. I gotta be honest with you. I've hit the last, I'll find money every week, but I don't like losing multiple picks on a fight card. That's been happening the last few weeks just because all the 50-50 fights. I wasn't too excited about betting going into the last few weekends, considering the 50-50. A lot of split decision losses. But this weekend, this is kind of my wheelhouse. These odds, these are kind of my wheelhouse. You pick a couple favorites, you go heavy on them, and then you can pick a couple underdogs on a separate ticket. And that's kind of my wheelhouse, my bread and butter. When I say underdogs, I mean 2-to-1 dogs, not really 5-to-1 dogs. I got Bam and Usyk on points. Let's go. Let's go, boy. But see, if you take them on points, if Bam knocks Cafu out or Usyk stops Dubois, then the parlay starts. But that's why, that's a risk you got to take. You put $50 on those two method of victories, I mean, that's going to have a nice return. What's that pay you? 4-to-1, 3-to-1? So yeah, I feel that. I definitely like those picks. It's probably good to now. It's 30 minutes in. This live chat usually at this time is gonna, opens up, gets kind of to the Wild West. So I'm gonna talk about a couple fights I'm not betting on. Every week I've kind of added this to the live stream. Fights that I'm going to avoid. That doesn't mean you guys have to avoid them. The avoided bets on my end come with logical reasoning. And even bets that I love, my locks, my long parlays, I'm not trying to sell you on those either. I'm just being authentic with you on telling you where I'm putting my money. But the fights I'm not touching, there's a couple of them. I'm not touching Lawrence Okoli. I never bet on him. I told you that. And the odds are going to tempt you to bet on him. He's $1.49 against Lorena. I never bet on Okoli fights. I'm not betting on Gary Russell, even though I got a lot of respect. I really like the Russell family as boxers. It's just hard for me to get past not seeing him in the ring for so long, and the odds aren't really good. So I'm not betting on Russell. I never bet on Figueroa, so I'm not betting on Brandon Figueroa versus Gonzalez. That's kind of been a hotbed debatable point thus far this fight week. A lot of you guys like the dog and Joette, and whenever I see Brandon Figueroa fighting, I don't bet on him. That's 3. Ammo Williams is another guy. After watching Ammo versus Patrice Voltny, I had Ammo on my card. I picked Ammo to win. I actually thought Patrice won that fight. Ammo's really green. He's fun to watch. He's a fan favorite. Whenever your nickname's Ammo, he kind of has that, prodding forward, dip your hands, dip your shoulder, and throw bombs style. So, people like that. I don't bet on Ammo Williams anymore. And then that's 4. And I'm definitely not betting on the Pacquiao Barrios fight. So that's 5. I told you guys this yesterday on my live stream. Pacquiao Barrios to me is too akin to a Jake Paul fight. So even if it's what's up, Rando? Rando, I shared your bet, by the way, your winnings. And we had Rando Light in the house. We had some haters. And some of the boys were calling the haters out. I shared Rando's winnings. He emailed me. And if you guys ever win and you want me to, or if you have a ticket that hasn't taken place yet and you want me to share it, just email me or follow me on Instagram and tell me that you're from YouTube. And Rando shared a ticket I put up on our page. I think it was a 9-to-1. And blokes were going in the comment section like, oh, that's not really a good ticket to share. That's not really teaching people anything. And I'm like, what are you talking about, dude? Yeah, it's like, what do you mean it's not really? It's a 9-to-1. Are you insane? Like, people are insane. And I think they're just trolls, but it's funny to watch you boys, come along with myself and we call those people out. I think they learned pretty quickly that this isn't a casual channel. But yeah, a 9-to-1's a great hit. Yeah, so Will, what's up? Am I worried about fixing with Barrios Pacquiao? Here's my hesitation with Barrios and Pacquiao. I went over this in depth yesterday. The reason why I'm not betting on it, there's multiple reasons. I think they're obvious. To think that we live in the day and age where Pacquiao could fight for a title, 46 years old, skip the queue at 47, pretty much pick Barrios. Also, I just don't like, it doesn't feel right to me. Also, what are their intentions? Manny, in his head, Manny Pacquiao is not a guy, even in his prime, is going to pick fights without a plan of attack. This guy's a high-level operator in terms of, strategy. What's his intention? Meaning that, is his intention to fight Floyd again? All right, I can see, man, is that the handlers? The handlers know that the whole world's going to watch Manny Pacquiao fight. So I initially thought that this was like going to be a one-off. But if he's prepared to take a couple more fights, who's to say he's not going to come juiced to the goddamn gills on all the gear, on all the steroids, and who's to say they're not going to test him? Who's to say we're not going to see, like, there's too many what ifs for me to even bet on this fight. It just doesn't sit right with me. I'm not even putting $1 on that fight. I mean, logically, Barrios should win. Barrios should win. 30-year-old champion, 6 foot tall. But I'm not messing with it. Yeah. And if that's his end game, that's the handler's end game. And there's been some probably handshakes. There's been some, handshakes behind the scenes. Dude, yeah, I'm staying away from it. But like I said, logically, if it was a 46-year-old and a 30-year-old not named Manny Pacquiao, the 30-year-old should always win. Yeah, but when was prime Manny? 23. How long ago was that? Was that 30-year-old Manny? Was that 16 years ago, Manny? Was that 35-year-old Manny? Was that the guy who fought Floyd? Because, I mean, all the Pacquiao fans say that wasn't. They say that he aged him out, which 36. Okay, then wasn't he, how old was he when he fought Floyd? Wasn't he 30, 36, 37? If he's 46 now, what did he fight Floyd? Was it 2015? Yeah, he fought Floyd 2015, 10 years ago. So 36. So I remember the narrative, guys, the rhetoric going around, the conjecture going around that Floyd aged Manny out when they fought, and he was 36. But now we're talking about 36. Manny was a prime Manny. We can't keep moving the goalposts because the people who said that the only reason Floyd won was because he wasn't in his prime. But now we're saying 36 was his prime. All right, Pedro, you missed my entire point by saying Jake Paul. You missed my entire point. I said Manny Pacquiao versus Barrios is too akin, closely related, adjacent to the any Jake Paul fight. A sideshow, non-boxing fight. I've never bet on a Jake Paul fight. So that was my point. I'm not going to bet even $1 on a Jake Paul fight out of ethics of the sport. I'm not going to bet $1 on somebody prostituting the sport of boxing. And I wrote a long blog post that, received more love than it did negativity about why we should be a little bit hesitant on what Paul is doing. Yeah, because I was actually defending Jake Paul initially with the women's promotion. We just watched Netflix. I just saw the numbers this morning. 6 million people watched Amanda fight Katie Taylor in the trilogy. 6 million. You know what I'm saying? But listen to this. People are like, yeah, I don't really agree with Jake Paul, what he's doing with his boxing career, but you have to give him flowers, what he's doing as a promoter. You have to give him flowers for giving the ladies a stage and giving the ladies the biggest paydays of their career. And then you know what my pushback was on that? It's like, so you're telling me all of a sudden Jake Paul cares about women's boxing? No. So then here was my rebuttal. This is what Jake Paul is really doing. You could do your research. Google sports washing. Google it. It's been going on since, the gladiator days. Sports washing is the 1936 Olympics in Munich. Sports washing is what Adolf Hitler did in Germany in the Olympics, disguising the tyrannical government within their country, what they were doing to the people, what their plan was, using sports as a disguise. Sports washing is what the Saudis are doing right now with golf, with F1, with boxing, what Turkey Al-Sheikh is doing. Sports washing. Think about, dude, the MBS, the guy who runs Saudi, did we just forget about Jamal Khashoggi? Did we just forget about what happened he was a Washington Post journalist who got disappeared in the the consulate, I think it was in Turkey, by the Saudi government. So my point is, as Turkey Al-Sheikh is using sports to disguise a political regime, what's going on, I'm just, Jake Paul is doing the same, but he's not using, his end goal is personal gain and personal wealth. He's using the women's promotional side of things as a guise, Guise, a distraction, to then have people defend him. Well, he's doing it for women. No, he's using that to disguise what he's doing, bringing out 58-year-old sporting legends, prostituting their legacy for the sake of making $10 million. He's doing it right in front of us. So I've totally, that's my debunking of the debate about he's good for the sport. He's not. Yeah, I mean, look what the Saudis did with golf, LIV golf. Look what the Saudis, it's sports watching. Google it. Yeah, and you could call it brilliant. You call it what you will. I'm not buying into it. I don't bet $1 on a Jake Paul fight. I'm not betting $1 on this Manny Pacquiao versus Mario Barrios fight. It just doesn't sit well with me. But I'm an old head, dude. I'm like, I have, call me, in my approach. You're right. Just please. No, I want to go to Saudi. What do you mean? I have one of my close mates who's I brought him up a couple times ago. He invested in my documentary. He lives in, it's not Saudi. He lives in Dubai. So he lives in the UAE. No taxes. PBC is low-key really struggling putting this fight on. PBC is low-key really struggling for putting this fight on. Huh? What? How come every PBC card we talk about this? How about people picking Fierro over Pitbull? No, 23 people are picking Fierro over Pitbull. I'm not. No, my Sam, I wasn't laughing at you. The comment was about, it seems like PBC, my point was, it seems like PBC can never do anything right. That was my point. It wasn't laughing at you. It was a laugh at like over the last 2 years, and I'm not defending how they operate, but it's one of those sort of narratives that I look at the card they're putting on. I'm like, damn, they're not struggling that bad. This is an amazing card. Top to bottom. Top to bottom, the card's insane. Sam, okay. See, it's tough sometimes to kind of get, I wasn't trying to offend anybody by the laugh. It was just like what I hear in a lot of, and you guys know what I'm talking about. It seems like there's a whole, like PBC can never get anything right. And I looked at that card, I'm like, God damn, dude, this card is stacked. We just went over it. But yeah, to answer your question about Pacquiao and Fierro, I like the fight to go the distance. I think that's my bet, guys. If you are going to pick on, I don't think Pitbull, I'm not going to say, like, people love Pitbull. I understand he's entertainment. I think the fight goes the distance. Yeah, okay. Pedro, I agree. Okay, Sam, yeah, we're on board. Yeah, I just wanted to clarify. I wasn't trying to dismiss a comment I disagreed with by laughing. That would have been a lazy argument on my end. Yeah, I try not to be lazy. I think it's important for us not to agree on everything too, especially for the channel to grow, for people to come to the channel and expect any sort of credible knowledge from either you guys on the live streams or me on my uploads, is that it's important for us to not agree on everything. If we agreed on everything, then what makes us different from like a political echo chamber? Do you know what I mean? Like some of these, whatever side you're on, whatever, you go to some sort of content creators and everyone agrees and it's like, oh God, I don't want that to be this. Yeah, cool. But yeah, so let's, you guys are picking Fierro at 4-1. Is anybody here want to sell me on that? What do you guys see in Fierro that you think he could get a decision on the cards against Pitbull? Because they love Pitbull, and rightfully so. I think Pitbull is still living off of that decision loss to Tank. You know what I mean? Because like there's certain fights in fighters' careers that you don't have to win, that you kind of Fierro's training. Okay, hey, you know how I feel about Robert Garcia. He's one of my favorite coaches. I think the fight's going to go the distance. I'm going to pull the odds out right now. Fierro, Pitbull to go the distance. I know one of you guys asked about Dubois and Usyk. I'll get to that in a second. Because some of the, I mean, why is this rematch happening? Fierro and Pitbull, right? It's because people thought Fierro kind of got the short end of a decision. Is that right? Does anybody here think that Fierro rightfully won that first fight? Fierro trained with Garcia, and he has the blueprint. Okay, that's a blueprint. Blue collar. There you go. JCG. I like Paulie's takes, mate. Paulie's one of those guys that I don't agree with on everything. Paulie will say some outlandish stuff, and because he has that, he's a fighter. He has interesting takes, but there are some good things that I agree with him on. You know what you're getting with Pitbull, one-dimensional. I take Fierro to have a better game plan. I have a draw last time. Well, okay, so Pudgems, what's up, buddy? Now I know you're from Instagram, Pudgems. It's just your Instagram handle and your YouTube handle are way different. But Pudgems feels that you picked a draw. Oh yeah, you didn't pick. You scored it as a draw. Okay, so that's what I mean. There's a reason this rematch is happening. No one running. That's why they want to. Yeah. Okay. There's a reason. I mean, if it was a one-sided watch, they wouldn't rematch it. Does Cruz have in his arsenal the ability to add any? How does Cruz add any levels to his game? You know what I mean? Because he, like somebody just said, what you see is what you get with his attack, his arsenal, his defense, what he does. It's almost like I would put Pitbull in the category of Zepeda in terms of Zepeda's product. You know what the Zepeda product is? High volume pressure on the front foot. And certain fighters, you know what the product looks like. It doesn't change. And I think that's why some people are picking Fundora to beat Tszyu. Because same thing. People were saying that with Tszyu, you know the product. That product doesn't beat Fundora. So some fighters, you watch them add levels to their game. Like Raymond Ford, for instance. If you watch Raymond Ford up until maybe 4 fights ago, when you watch Ford's offensive arsenal and how he operates in the ring, it looks a lot different now. People are high on Raymond Ford in a way that they weren't high on him before. They already had a lot of, he already had buzz around him, but he fights his offense looks a bit differently. So with Pitbull, I don't know if I could see him adding any sort of differences to that. What would it be? Being more patient or, not rushing everything or, catch and shooting? I don't know if every guy has the ability to do that in a firefight, especially the way, certain fighters are wired. Pitbull's the judges darn fair, won't get the knock. Yeah, so pick the fight to go the distance, JCG. Either pick it to go the distance. Do you think anybody gets dropped? Do you see a knockdown happening in that fight? Been following Pitbull and he's definitely lifting weights, trying to add muscle to knock out Fierro. Fierro, it's an intriguing matchup. I didn't realize that this was such an intriguing matchup until fight week. It has a lot of buzz on the channel. Combination of head move would be the only thing I can think of. Yeah, what do you think, Pedro? What do you think about his timing, though? Because sometimes it looks like Pitbull kind of operates at one speed. And we see when if fighters are able to change it up, that's another thing I agree, JCG. That's another thing I really like about Bam Rodriguez. When you really watch Bam Rodriguez in the pocket, in exchanges, he throws punches at different speeds. He'll change his speed up in a combo. He'll go, 1, 2, 3. Not everything is like that. It's 1, 2, that. So you drill that. Some fighters do that. He does that really well. One of the many things Bam does really well is he doesn't throw everything with one speed and one tempo. And I think that Zepeda would, if Zepeda were able to kind of add that to his game, he would see more success. And Zepeda to move his head a bit. He just keeps his head right in the midline. Feints into his game. I don't think that he does it. No, Pedro, good call. So let's see. So we know Pitbull, 27-3, 18 knockouts, never been stopped. Fierro, 23-3, never been stopped. Huh. Guys, this has decision all over it. Fierro's 5'7". What's Pitbull listed at? 5'4", 5'3"? 5'4". This fight's taking place at, this should be at 35, right? It's at 40. 5'4", 140. Yeah, yeah, I agree. So that's what I kind of like. I like the fight to go the distance. I like under 1.5 knockdowns. There's some money on this fight. If you go the fight to go the distance, under 1.5 knockdowns, and Pitbull on the money line. I don't know if your betting apps would allow you. That's not. I'm not saying that's one of my locks. Just off the top, I like that. I could reason with that, putting money on that. Fight to go the distance, under 1.5 knockdowns, Pitbull on the money line. If you guys have a betting app, I'd like to see what that one would pay. To answer somebody's question, 5 minute. It's a 12 rounder. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, they're going 12. The first fight was 10. They're going 12. Under 1.5. Same. And the video we just uploaded, Usyk Dubois. I really like Usyk on the money line. And Dubois got dropped twice in the first fight, I'm pretty sure. I think didn't Usyk drop Dubois in the 9th or 10th? Somewhere around there. And then, say it for what you will, the low blow wasn't counted. But that being said, you know, you'll see a lot of content creators say that Usyk doesn't really like body rips. You'd have to think that'll be on Dubois' mind to work the body. And you'd have to think that Usyk is going to know that. So whatever way you see maybe a body rip or even Usyk, you know, southpaw, bladed stance, countering a body rip, Dubois maybe throws, Usyk counters up top. I'd like to see a knockdown prop bet. I think I'm going to go with an over 0.5. I like Usyk to win decision and maybe an over 0.5 knockdowns. So all you would need to you think Dubois will win a decision? You think Dubois could outbox Usyk? Sell me on that. How do you see Lloyd? Lloyd, how does Dubois? You think what did you see in the first fight that would tell you that Dubois could outbox Usyk? Or what have you seen in Dubois' last 3 fights? Do you think that in those last 3 fights he's developed an offensive strategy and a skill set to outbox Usyk? I can see what that pays. Appreciate you guys. Wherever you're tuning in, Sam, the boys, DJ, JCG, like this video. We're floating between 50 and 70 on the live. We got 24 people liking it. That should be way up there. 24 people, like I said yesterday, is depressing. But maybe it's just you guys hit that little thumb. If you haven't subscribed, do it. Go to the comments. In a pinned comment, I put the insider group there. You could click Johnny Says Boxing Insider and join our group. It's a couple bucks a month. You get a lot of perks there. Yeah. So people were saying Pitbull's, you know, putting muscle on for 140. I just don't like him at 140. 5'4". You know what I'm saying? When you think about him at 5'4" at 140, and you think of Bam 5'4" at 115, and you know Nick Ball at 126, 5'4" at 140 is insane. JCG. David Eister checking in. What's the great bet, buddy? What did you hear? What do you like? David Eister, he has a good boxing mind. Which one do you like, David? Kane, yeah, Didi, because the reason why I agree with Kane on saying that Dubois by decision is wild is because you're then telling the world that Dubois is going to outbox Usyk. That means that he doesn't stop him, he outboxes him. The only way I see Dubois winning is by stopping him. Yeah, Pitbull under 1.5. I love it too, mate. I love it. And I think I'm going to add that to my... There's some props, if we're smart. There's some prop bets on a lot of these fights. Yeah, the fight with Fierro. Yeah, good. Okay, we're seeing eye to eye. I'm going to add that up in my little bet accumulator, and I'm going to put it on the channel. Yeah, I think he has a 95% career knockout to win ratio, Dubois. So that was my point. The point, if you really like Dubois to win, you could. There's reason with that. I could find reason in that. You know, Usyk's 38, Usyk, just went, 24 rounds with Fury. Usyk could get old overnight. Usyk's not a natural heavyweight. Dubois in his prime at 27. Dubois 6'5". Dubois has cannons in his hands. Dubois a 95% career knockout to win ratio. So I could see the reasoning with taking Dubois winning, but the reasoning in my eyes would have to be a stoppage. I couldn't reason with him outboxing Usyk for 12 rounds. So that is where I was kind of calling. I wasn't really. I think this was who said this? Lloyd. Lloyd, I wasn't really calling your bet erroneous. I was just calling the reasoning. King Ty, David Picasso is on my lock parlay of the week money line. I think Picasso is a good little fighter, and he's one of my 1 of 4 money line locks. Does anyone else find it weird Usyk split with his manager? I didn't know this, Pedro. Preach. I didn't know this. It has to be mentioned. I didn't hear about this. When did that happen? I think stuff like that. King Tiger, but don't know about a method. Yeah, I just got Picasso on the money line. Guys say AJ looked absolutely mud against Dubois. Hergovich looked like he just woke up. Yeah. Dubois, Usyk, no distance. So you're saying, what if Usyk wins the decision though? You would lose the bet. I think $1.34 right now is enough for me. Yeah, I got Usyk on the money line at $1.34. That $1.34 on the money line is insane to me. That's enough to juice up a parlay if you want to go heavy on, like I said, Usyk money line, Picasso money line, Pacheco money line, and Bam money line. I love those fights. You think boxing robs Usyk? I think Usyk is like boxing's darling. Is that fair to say? I don't see anybody robbing that guy. He's the way he's operated throughout his career, from the Olympics to him being vocal about what's going on geopolitically, to his style, what he did at cruiser, what he's done at heavy. I mean, he's pretty much, and I don't want to jinx him, he's pretty much had a perfect career in and out of the ring. I don't see. I love Tszyu. Tszyu is one of my favorite strikers right now. She's she fights in MMA. Long. She's charismatic. What do you think of? I heard Cardenas got taken off the card. Money Meech, I'm getting $1.61 on that parlay. I've been back and forth. Yeah, $1.65. I've been back and forth with Muscle. I gave Muscles that parlay 2 days ago, and we got it at $1.61. And that was for the big heavy hitters on the channel. So $1.61 at the time, or $1.65 for the big boys. 10K gets you 6,500 back. And I'm like, come on, mate. 10K, 6,500. You got Picasso, Pacheco, Bam, and Usyk on the money line. Let's get it. Almost. What did my dad say about almost? Horseshoes and hand grenades. No, Pedro, no. Pedro, you could sell us on Brandon. I'm not messing with Brandon. So we're about, we're an hour in. So I'm gonna talk a little bit about some MMA because you boys are asking me. Pacheco's not a finished product. I like Pacheco to beat McCumbee. I mean, we kind of broke that down. We kind of broke that down yesterday. The reasons why. I think Pacheco handles McCumbee. I'm comfortable with that pick. So I'm going to give you a couple minutes with the MMA real quick. Holloway versus Poirier. Max is at $1.78. I'm all over that. I think Max beats him. Yeah, I don't think I'm not too high on McCumbee. I think even where Diego is in his career, still young, still fine-tuning his game. I think Diego's the guy who adds a little bit to his game. He's still young. I think Diego should stop McCumbee, but I think Diego's going to take some lessons from that Steven Nelson fight in terms of kind of like spreading out his gas tank, kind of managing his energy a bit better. I had Diego losing a few of those later rounds against Nelson, but I'm not sold, never been sold on McCumbee. Yeah, that's it. I just being safe, I'm taking Diego on the money line on that, though. I mean, not that slow. I think he, because he keeps winning. You're right. I like how they've been moving him. But we know in a division like 68, you know, you keep winning. There's nowhere else to go, right? Before you know it, I mean, he's been calling out guys like Mabili. 23-0, 18 knockouts. He's 24 years old now. I think it's, you know, he's ready. I think we're about to watch the next few fights if Diego's the real deal. You know, he has the head for it. You know, he has that. Pacheco and Shiraz. Yeah, I don't mind that. Pacheco and Shiraz is a good fight. I don't mind that at all. That's a fun fight. That's something that I'm surprised we didn't talk about that. Yeah, Pacheco versus Shiraz is a fun fight. If Pacheco comes out and looks how I think he's going to look, that's a fight worth talking about. Both have fun styles. I like Diego's style. 6'4", 79-inch reach. What's Shiraz, 6'3"? When's the last time Shiraz didn't have the height advantage? Yeah, I mean, Diego's already ranked number 7 in the world at 68. There's really nowhere to go. You know what I mean? The top 10, you have, this is BoxRec's algorithm, boys. Canelo, Mabili, Hamza, Jamal. Where you been, Jamal? Munguia at 5. Osley Iglesias at 6. Pacheco at 7. Sajo at 8. Callum Simpson at 9. Silligan at 10. And then Lester's at 12. Lester Martinez. Lester Martinez is, did he get added on to that card? I wouldn't call 68 stacked. Yeah, whoever said it's stacked, I disagree. I think 154 is stacked. But 68 is, I wouldn't even call 68's not that good. I'm talking about 1 through 30. It's a little top heavy, but 68's filled. 68's been on handcuffed for years. We know why. That's why. Because we haven't seen a lot of these guys who could be stars. We haven't seen them given opportunity because the modern state of 68 and Canelo. So I'm not saying, yeah, I wouldn't call it stacked. It's filled with a lot of guys with a lot of potential. Like Lester Martinez at 12 is a guy that, you know, could do some things. Pavel Silligan is a guy at number 10 who could do some things. We know Iglesias at 6. We know what Hamza looks like. We know what Mabili looks like. But then if you go past 10, I mean, Sergey Derevyanchenko is still in the top 25. You guys know I'm up on Derevyanchenko. Never been stopped. Where's Fulgham at? I thought no. Yeah, Fulgham dropped to 31 after the loss against Bektemir. Where do they have Bektemir at then? Okay, Bektemir's at 18. Okay, I take it. 68 has a little bit more pop than I thought, actually. Shishkin's tough. I like Bazignan. I wish we would have gotten to see Bazignan more. I know he was supposed to have a fight. He impressed me against Munguia. I mean, I don't think he's ever going to become a world champion. Yeah, I take it back. 68's better than I thought it was. I kind of jumped the gun a bit. Now that I'm looking, it's kind of deeper than I thought it was. Yeah, 68's deeper than I thought it was for sure. Stephen Butler's still at 30. Fulgham's at 31. Bruno's at 32. Yeah, I think that's about it there. I still don't think anybody wants to fight Derevyanchenko. That dude's he's I know he's up there in age, but look who Derevyanchenko has on his resume, and the kid's never been stopped. Derevyanchenko is the best sort of gatekeeper. Like if you were to build a gatekeeper in a lab, you would build Sergey Derevyanchenko because You think you're a rising contender? We'll see. Go 10 rounds with Derevyanchenko, and then we'll see what time it really is. But like, what are they going to do with Bektemir? Shishkin, dude, no one ever talks about Vladimir Shishkin. He's a fun guy too. So yeah, Resendez is at 24. We'll see. Bosnian's parents are ice figure skaters. That is a good fun fact. I like what I saw in the Munguia fight, man. I like what I saw from like how he was operating as a boxer. You know, because like by nature, I love technicians in anything. I like somebody who is technical in whatever they do. You know, maybe they're playing the classical, Spanish guitar. Maybe they're playing the piano. Maybe, I love music. I used to play in bands back in the day. Something you guys don't know. I love music, all sorts of music. So that being said, technicians, when I watched Bosnian versus Munguia, I was impressed with some of the techniques that Bosnian was doing. Like I said, will he ever be a world champion? Probably not. But when he fights, I'll watch. Kevin Saggio. No one talks about him. 25-0. It's tough coming out of France. Beck versus Sergey. Yeah, but do you do that to Bektemir? I would put somebody younger against Sergey. If I was making the matchups, because Beck already they try to act like Bektemir, putting him up against Darius. We picked Bektemir. We picked him to win, won a lot of money. See, I had a little debate with Gary on his channel for that one, but all you boys remember is Berlanga versus Shiraz. I'm kidding. But yeah, we got a good one with Bektemir there. I think Bektemir, they should offer him something bigger now. With Derevyanchenko, maybe see what, I don't know. What do you do with Derevyanchenko? Do you give him a shot? Do you put Hamza against him? They're not going to, obviously. They love Hamza. They're not going to do that to him. Do you put... I wish they did, though. Beck versus Berlanga. Yeah. Do you punish Berlanga like that and give him Beck to here? That's, man, people really don't like you. If that... I would take Beck, that'd be a tough fight for Berlanga, for sure. But yeah, 68, it's an interesting one. Go to 4. Have you guys look? We did 47 yesterday. We were looking at 47. 47's a thin division too. My favorites at the moment are 54. Divisions like 18, 22, and 26 are top heavy. 54 is loaded. 140 is top heavy, but there's a lot of guys waiting to break through at 40 as well. I think it was 35 that isn't. Let's see, 35. I think 35 is getting old, isn't it? 160 is light. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. It's one of those interesting divisions. Because when I was in my 20s, 60 was stacked. 60 used to be stacked. So 35, top 10. You got Shakur, Tank, Morataya, Keyshawn, Zepeda, Abdullah, Roach, Floyd, Noakes, Zaire. 35's top heavy, top 10. 35 has some good. 35's always fun. 35's always fun. Sergey's nickname is the Technician. Derevyanchenko. Yeah, he's just such a tough out. 468 or 60. We got Janabek there. Alam Hanalei. No one's calling him out. Damn, I kind of wish after seeing, yeah, it's kind of a swing division, 130. After seeing Hamza versus Berlanga, I kind of wish we would have got to see Alam Hanalei versus Hamza. Maybe Alam Hanalei moves up to 68. They were supposed to fight. Janabek had that contract. That was the fight that was supposed to take place. He's so fun to watch, Alam Hanalei, when you watch him, and he's sort of like, he talks to you in there. He expects to hurt you in his fights. That's why he's so entertaining, and it's such an interesting matchup. Janabek versus Shiraz. It was supposed to go down at 60. Guys, I gotta admit, this is where I have to get better on my predictions, and I'm putting my own shit on blast here, and I'm being truthful. Is that a couple times over the last 6 months, I found myself picking against a fighter because of personal reasons. And I try not to do that. I try not to. It's always when I look back and I dissect my losses. So I was dissecting the Berlanga Shiraz loss because I picked Berlanga, but I'm not a Berlanga fan. It's not like I cheer for Berlanga, right? It wasn't one of those things. And I came to the realization, the reason why I picked Berlanga is because I don't like turkey. And I'm like, I got to stop doing that. You know what I'm saying? It's so tough to get past our own personal biases when we're trying to be as fair and non-judgmental as possible in picking a winner. And it was the main reason, and I hate when I do that. I try not to do that. I work a lot on myself, not being biased, not being judgmental, and being straight down the middle. And yeah, that's the advice. My dad always said, bet with your wallet, not with your heart. God damn it. Way to hold me to it. But it's like, yeah, that's the only reason I went against Shiraz is because I don't like Turkey al-Sheikh, and that's the worst reason to bet against somebody. So that being said, I do want to see Hamza versus Janibek. And I know Janibek cuts a lot of weight to get to 60. Janibek could go up to 68 and be like, what's up? Surprise. I think Janibek would be a solid fight for Canelo. I think Janibek would be a nightmare for a lot of those guys. I'd like to see Janibek versus Mabili. I'm actually sold on him. Every time I watch him fight, I'm like, damn, this dude is really, really good. So we got at 60. He just can't get fights, man. So at 60, you have Elam Hanalei, Lara. Wow. Arislandi Lara is a champion. Good on Lara, dude. Good on Lara. Go watch the Lara Canelo fight back in the day. So Elam Hanalei, Lara, Chris Eubanks Jr., Adames, Aaron McKenna at 5. We featured McKenna on the channel when he fought Beefy. And, I reached out to Bomac in my film study on McKenna because, we know that McKenna would go to the U.S. and train at B&B and spar with the boys, Crawford and them. And Bomac, it's one of the reasons I was really high on McKenna. That performance, man, he's fun to watch. Ammo's at 6. Ammo's at 6 at 160. Etinosa he's fighting. Zarafa, Spooner, and Gamasenge. Mateo Tapia's at 12. Patrice Volney's at 16. Yenli Hernandez at 21. Eric Priest at 22. Melnicki at 23. Yeah, 60's not that. It just lacks superstars. It lacks super. If I was Janibek, I'd go to 68. And hats off to Shiraz. What Shiraz just did, Shiraz didn't just beat Berlanga with his victory. Shiraz just brought this sort of aura, not like this energy to 168 based off that performance. Because now people who think that they could get him right now, they're like, shit, I'll take that fight. And they know what comes with the Shiraz fight. They know that, the Turkey al-Sheikh backing. They know those eyes, the international crowd. So hats off to him, mate. I picked against him. And he proved me wrong. And, shit, man, he looked good. He looked good. And one of you boys last night on the live stream were like, dude, he kind of reminded you of Kelly Pavlik, my boy. And I was kind of hesitant to even agree with you, but I was thinking about it, just from the frame and how he goes about his business. The Ammo fight is off, too. I wasn't betting on it. There's a lot of fights. So you're telling me Arturo Cardenas fight is off, Ammo fight is off, and then you boys said somebody else. Jeez. I wasn't betting on it, though. PBC saving Lara so you can... Lara is, 42 now? Tank and Roach is off. Well, we know about Tank, man. He's been... Don't even get me started on Gervonta. Guys, it's 7:45. This live stream is at 75 minutes. I have to upload Tszyu versus Fundora 2. I'm going live again in about 4 or 5 hours. And I appreciate the support. Like the video, subscribe. If you haven't already, there's a link in the description right now on how to join our Johnny Says Boxing Insider. If you could swing it, it's a couple bucks a month. It helps the channel out. And you guys get a lot of perks and insights that regular members or regular subscribers don't get. So however you can support this channel, I say thank you and stay tuned.